Imagine strolling through the origins of Hollywood, where every street corner whispers ancient secrets. It all begins with the humble holly tree, cherished by the wise druids of old. Picture Merlin, the legendary druid wizard from King Arthur's tales, wielding a wand carved from holly wood. Fast forward to today, where the silver screen is alive with a different kind of magic. Hollywood movies aren't just entertainment, they're crafted with the finesse of modern sorcery, using psychology and subtle messages to enchant audiences worldwide. And behind the glitz and glamour lurk whispers of witchcraft and Kabbalah, drawing in stars like Madonna and Ashton Kutcher, seeking deeper truths in the City of Angels. In the heart of Los Angeles stands the Kabbalah Center International, a modern-day sanctuary where seekers of truth gather, adorned with the red string bracelets symbolizing the fiery essence of judgment and conflict, hidden beneath the guise of Mars, the ancient god of war. Now meet Mark Breakspear, a wizard of special effects in Hollywood, whose family history traces back to the English Breakspear clan, whose legacy echoes through the corridors of time, from Vatican City to the shores of Ireland. The Breakspear name, translated to Roddy Lance, binds them to the noble Lancelotti lineage, where echoes of chivalry and valor resound through the ages. In Italy, amidst palaces adorned with maze-like gardens and ancient clock towers, the Lancelotti family reigns supreme, their history veiled in mystery and intrigue. These symbols, mirrored in the fantastical landscapes of Alice in Wonderland, weave a tale of enchantment and confusion, drawing the unsuspecting into a dance of shadows and light. At the helm of the Lancelotti dynasty stands Prince Filippo Massimo Lancelotti II, a guardian of ancient secrets and keeper of a legacy forged in the fires of time. Amidst the allure of Hollywood's glitz and glamour, the threads of history intertwine, spinning a tale of magic and wonder, where truth and fantasy collide in the flickering glow of the silver screen.
Now this is a story all about
the Massimo family.
Don Fabrizio Massimo Brancaccio is the top owner of the Vatican and has high authority over the Sicilian mafia like the Corleone C clan. They own a large fortress in Arcely and another castle in Campania. The Massimo family are married with various royal bloodlines including the Savoy, Bourbon, and Osorio noble family which have a family branch in Galicia, Spain. The Osorio family use wolves on their coat of arms. Prince Carlo Massimo is married to Princess Eliza Osorio of Moscoso and Estagna. Amancio Ortega is from Galicia and works as a court factor and money launderer for Spanish nobility including the House of Osorio. Amancio Ortega is one of the wealthiest billionaires on the planet and worth more than 70 billion. He owns Inditex with the store chain called Massimo Dutti which is a high-end fashion brand. Prince Stefano Massimo married into the British Foxwell family and he is a fashion photographer with residences in London. Prince Stefano's mother was the English actress Dawn Adams. Rupert Murdoch, who owns Fox News, is a Vatican Knight of the Order of St. Gregory. Fox was covertly named for Foxwell. The fox is considered a cunning animal. Fox News is a propaganda machine for the Vatican. Prince Valerio Massimo founded SCM Capital Partners and an aerospace company called Auctus Industries with his business associate Duke Edward Spencer Churchill. The House of Massimo and other Italian nobility have infiltrated the United Kingdom and work with the House of Windsor and some British peers. I believe the billionaire Bulgari family of Rome work for the Massimo family. The Bulgari family and their jewelry company were recently investigated for tax evasion. Some jewelry companies are involved in money laundering by fixing the prices of jewelry. The Bulgari family originated from Bulgaria, which uses a coat of arms with two lions similar to the Massimo coat of arms. I believe the term black in Black Nobility refers to the Black Sea along the eastern coast of Bulgaria. The words mass and bulge can be synonymous. The House of Massimo is the nucleus of the Black Nobility. They are the primary owners of the Holy See. It is believed that they have a hidden ancestry with the ancient Spanish House of Burgundy. Queen Maxima of the Netherlands claims Burgundian ancestry. It is also believed that Baron August von Senarclens de Grancy, who had an affair with Princess Wilhelmine of Baden, was a relative of the Massimo family, and this is why the House of Hesse created the name Battenberg for suspected Senarclens offspring, which later married in with the royal families of Russia, Spain, Sweden, and England. Prince Carlo Massimo oversees the Sovereign Military Order of Malta as president of the Italian Association of the Order of Malta. The Order of Malta was involved in various wars, and several top military and intelligence leaders in the United States like Alexander Haig, William Colby, and John McCone were Knights of Malta. The Black Nobility used Jesuits as Roman intelligence and infiltrators. The Roman-born Mario Draghi is president of the European Central Bank, and Draghi was educated at the Massimo Institute. The Black Nobility have control over vast wealth through private Swiss banking. The Massimo family also run organized crime in Rome like the Magliana Mafia, and were one of the families behind the neo-fascist group Nuclei Armati Rivoluzionari, headed up by their agent Massimo Carminati. Most mafias paid dues back to the Massimo family through their Corleone clan of Sicily. Individual mafia families make billions per year. It is believed that the Massimo Palazzo has an underground tunnel connecting to the basement of the Vatican, which is how they have maintained their control.
Now this is a story all about
The Orsini family.
The Orsini family of Rome, the Orsini-Rosenberg family of Austria, and the Rosenberg family of Bohemia control Rosicrucianism, which is a secret society of alchemists. These families all use the rose on their coat of arms. The Rosicrucian order is also called the Order of the Rosy Cross. Alchemy is the manipulation of the human psyche and biology through chemicals. The FDA and most food and drug companies are controlled by Rosicrucians. The Orsini family were behind the Ebola propaganda and had developed deadly Ebola vaccines. The creator of the Georgia Guidestones, which aimed to regulate the population of humanity, used the name R.C. Christian as an alias and was really Robert C. Cook, an American geneticist involved in population control and eugenics. RCC, like Roman Catholic Church and like Rosy Cross, vaccines are one of the most destructive tools the wicked use on humanity. The Orsini and Rosenberg families were also responsible for the Black Plague. They hired people to poison well water in order to spread the disease. The song Ring O' Roses goes back to the times of the Black Plague. They used rose petals to mask the smell of death. The Colonna family of Rome worked closely with the Orsini family and are also involved with pharmaceuticals. Stefano Colonna developed the Julia Colonna epoxidation, which is used by Bayer.
Dark history of the pharmaceutical giant, Bayer. In the annals of World War II's harrowing chapters, the Holocaust stands as a haunting symbol of unspeakable atrocities. Central to this tale of terror was Dr. Joseph Mengele, a resident doctor notorious for his abhorrent experiments. Driven by a macabre curiosity about human heredity, Mengele plunged into heinous experiments, injecting dyes into children's eyes and subjecting prisoners to repeated X-rays, aiming to render them infertile. His twisted pursuits aimed at advancing the Aryan race while cruelly sterilizing those deemed undesirable. His repertoire included injecting diseases into twins, then dissecting them upon one twin's demise, dissecting pregnant mothers and children without anesthesia, and administering lethal chemicals to test their effects. These grotesque experiments found a sinister ally in IG Farben, which bankrolled Auschwitz doctors to test the drugs on inmates, delving into the macabre secrets of heredity. The company even manufactured the Zyklon B gas used in Auschwitz's gas chambers. The aftermath of these horrors saw IG Farben's liquidation in 1952, marking a reckoning for its abhorrent war crimes during the Nazi era. Following liquidation, there was only one company remaining, and that was none other than Bayer. After 1978, Bayer and other pharmaceutical firms started producing Factor VIII and IX, a vital product intended for hemophiliacs, individuals with a genetic disorder that inhibits blood clotting, making even minor injuries potentially life-threatening due to excessive bleeding. Factor VIII was derived from the blood plasma of non-hemophiliacs, yet, alarmingly, Bayer sourced blood from pools of high-risk individuals, ostensibly to reduce expenses, although some suggest there might have been deliberate actions at play. These sources included prison populations, intravenous drug users, and clinics with a high number of homosexual donors. Federal regulations strictly prohibit using blood from individuals with a history of viral hepatitis. However, Bayer and other companies failed to implement stringent criteria for blood collection. Tragically, this lax approach resulted in thousands of hemophiliacs receiving HIV-contaminated blood plasma, leading to their untimely deaths. This grievous oversight had devastating consequences, amplifying the anguish wrought by Bayer's historical association with unethical experiments, forming yet another tragic chapter in the company's controversial legacy. In addition to Bayer's troubled history, the company made headlines by finalizing a colossal $66 billion deal to acquire GMO giant Monsanto. As part of this acquisition, Bayer declared its intention to shed Monsanto's 117-year-old name, opting to operate solely under the banner of Bayer. The company clarified, Bayer will remain the company name. Monsanto will no longer be a company name. The acquired products will retain their brand names and become part of the Bayer portfolio. This rebranding seems to be a strategic maneuver aimed at distancing the new conglomerate from the negative associations surrounding Monsanto, particularly regarding genetically modified organisms, GMOs. The merger of these two entities, both marked by controversial histories, raises significant concerns and warrants careful scrutiny.
Evonik today. The Julia Colonna epoxidation is used for binding toxic chemicals with human enzymes. Prince Domenico Orsini and Prince Raimondo Orsini are the heads of this family.
Now this is a story all about
A dynasty that you've probably never heard of, but definitely have. And that's none other than the Wettin dynasty. The Wettin dynasty, are a powerful and influential European lineage and traces its roots back to the early 10th century AD. Its forebears were instrumental in expanding Germany's eastern frontier into what had been Slavic territory. By the late 1080s, two brothers from this noble family not only controlled the countship of Wettin, strategically positioned on the Saale River near Halle, but also governed the Margravate of Meissen. A pivotal moment in the dynasty's history came in 1485 when it split into two branches, the Ernestine and Albertine lines. The Albertines wrested the Saxony electorate from the Ernestines in 1547. The 19th and 20th centuries saw the Ernestine Wettins of the Saxe-Coburg branch achieve remarkable prominence. Leopold I ascended to the Belgian throne in 1831, and Prince Albert's marriage to Queen Victoria in 1840 linked the Wettins to the British crown, resulting in 5 successive British monarchs. Despite their German origins, the name Wettin was seldom mentioned in England, and the Saxe-Coburg Gotha house was renamed Windsor in 1917. Another Ernestine, Ferdinand, married Maria II of Portugal in 1836, establishing the Portuguese royal house that ruled from 1853 to 1910. Additionally, another branch member, Ferdinand I,
You better hide that big ass forehead.
became Prince of Bulgaria in 1887 and later king in 1908, with his lineage continuing until 1946. The Albertine line, on the other hand, held the electorship of Saxony from 1547 and ascended to kingship from 1806 until 1918. They also produced two Polish kings, Augustus II and Augustus III, who reigned between 1697 and 1763. The Wettin dynasty's legacy is a testament to their enduring influence and adaptability across European history.
Discussion of secret societies is something of a minefield because it so easily invites ridicule. It is very difficult for the general public to accept that the super-rich leaders of their Western world can possibly be as mad and deranged as they actually are. The public, generally speaking, are sensible and level-headed people who have to balance their checkbooks, so they inevitably tend to laugh at stories about Satanists and occult believers. But if you talk to any well-informed historians, they are all aware of the important role which various secret societies have played in human history. The Black Hand always played a pivotal role in the history of the Mafia. If you talk to anyone in the UK who is political and read books, they are always aware that the ruling class of Britain, including every member of the royal family, is a Freemason. And the emblem of the death's head was sported on the caps of the high-ranking Nazi officers from the very beginning. The symbols of these secret societies always seem to play around with some kind of skull and bones motif, so that it's abundantly clear what their mission statement is. These people are pirates, willing to commit any crime for big money. And they first became established in America at Yale University in 1833 with General William Huntington Russell and Alphonso Taft. Of course, being a secret society, they made other people curious about them, and in 1867 some undergraduates from a rival campus society broke into their headquarters to see what this skull and bones thing was all about. They reported that inside there were lots of lamps and candles, many dilapidated human skulls lying next to a fool's cap and bells, and it was morbidly dark because the walls were covered in black velvet. Having established a suitably satanic atmosphere, initiation rites were then performed on new members, who had to engage in group masturbation and sodomy while they lay in a coffin. Now, it's very easy to dismiss all of this as bizarre, silly and irrelevant until you see the list of Skull and Bones members who have ruled America since Skull and Bones began. Although they only graduate 15 initiates a year, those 15 have always gone on to occupy the very highest positions in American society. US Secretary of State William Max Evarts was a Bonesman, as was Treasury Secretary Franklin McVeigh, Chief Justice Simeon Eben Baldwin, and the 27th President of the United States, William Howard Taft. The founder of American football, Walter Camp, came through Skull and Bones, as did the very first chairman of the Federal Reserve, Pierre Jay, and director of Standard Oil, Percy Rockefeller. Averill Harriman, the son of E.H. Harriman and founder of Harriman Brothers, the largest investment bank in the world, was a Bonesman, and so were both of the George Bush presidents. During his premiership, John F. Kennedy was surrounded by Bonesmen like McGeorge Bundy and David Acheson, son of Dean Acheson. Kennedy knew these men refer to each other as brothers under the skin. They swear an oath of secrecy and then ruthlessly vow to help each other's careers in any way they can throughout their lives, even if it means committing murder. In Britain, every literate person knows that all of the top police officers are Freemasons, because if there are 10 candidates for a top job, a Mason will always select a brother Mason for the post.
I was today years old when I found out.
The Pinda is a member of one of the 13 ruling Illuminati families and is always male. The title, Pinda, is an abbreviated term for Pinnacle of the Draco, also known as the Penis of the Dragon. Symbolically, this represents the top of power, control, creation, penetration, expansion, invasion, and fear. Recently, there have been reports that the Marquis de Libo is the Pinda, but this is disinformation. The true current Pinda is the head of the Rothschild family, as has been for several hundred years. He is based in Germany near Frankfurt. In the late 1970s, he oversaw the sister project to Montic, called MALDA, which is an anagram for Montic Alsace-Lorraine Dimensional Activation. This project was located near the city of Strasbourg, France, historically once part of Germany. There is a winery on the east end of Long Island, not far from Montic Point, called Pinda Vineyards. This wine is growing in popularity, gaining international accolades. This fits nicely into the plan, as this area is earmarked to be a part of the capital district of the United Nations in the Empire State. Red wine is symbolic of the blood ingested by the ruling families. The Illuminati here on Earth have established a pyramid structure of control identical to the system that exists in the demonic empire. The pyramid with the eye, located on the American $1 bill, is symbolic of this control structure. The eye is the cap on the pyramid, thus explaining why the original surface of the Great Pyramid in Egypt was capped in solid gold. The Pinda is represented by the gold cap on the pyramid. The next layer, or I, on the pyramid represents the 13 ruling families. Each of the 13 ruling families is given an area of the earth and a particular function to fulfill on the earth. These particular functions include global finances, military technology, development, mind control, religion, and media. They also know that there are really 13 zodiac signs, not the commonly acknowledged 12. They have kept the 13th hidden for centuries because it is the sign of the dragon. They keep the qualities and traits of this sign secret to avoid giving away clues to the reptilian mind pattern. The next layer is the second in command families who do the support work for the Pindar and 13 ruling families. They are known as the Committee of 300. These families include such notable names as Agnelli, Baliol, Beale, Bell, Bouvier, Bush, Cameron, Campbell, Carnegie, Carrington, Coolidge, Delano, Douglas, Ford, Gardner, Graham, Hamilton, Harriman, Hines, Kuhn, Lindsay, Loeb, Mellon, Montgomery, Morgan, Norman, Oppenheimer, Rhodes, Roosevelt, Russell, Savoy, Schiff, Seaton, Spencer, Stewart, Taft, and Wilson. There are many others. The Illuminati structure also creates artificial countries to further the goals. Examples of these are the United States, Switzerland, Kuwait, the Soviet Union, Panama, Israel, Italy, Yugoslavia, the United Kingdom, most of Black Africa, all of the Arab countries, and all of Central and South America. These nations were created to amass wealth for the ruling families and their supporters, to hide or keep their wealth, and to create unstable conditions necessary to start wars and/or increase military budgets.
I was today years old when I found out.
In the Bible, 2,000 years ago, Jesus drove the money changers from the temple. It was the only time Jesus used force during his ministry. What were money changers doing in the temple? When Jews came to Jerusalem to pay their temple tax, they could only pay it with a special coin, the half shekel of the sanctuary. This was a half ounce of pure silver about this size. It was the only coin around at that time which was pure silver and of assured weight, without the image of a pagan emperor. Therefore to Jews the half shekel was the only coin acceptable to God. But these coins were not plentiful. The money changers had cornered the market on them. Then they raised the price, just like any other commodity, to whatever the market would bear. In other words, money changers were making exorbitant profits because they held a virtual monopoly on money. The Jews had to pay whatever they demanded. To Jesus, this totally violated the sanctity of God's house. But the money-changing scam did not originate in Jesus' day. 200 years before Christ, Rome was having trouble with money changers. 2 early Roman emperors had tried to diminish the power of the money changers by reforming usury laws and limiting land ownership to 500 acres. They were both assassinated. In 48 BC, Julius Caesar took back the power to coin money from the money changers and minted coins for the benefit of all. With this new, plentiful supply of money, he built great public works projects. By making money plentiful, Caesar won the love of the common man. But the money changers hated him. Some believe this was an important factor in Caesar's assassination. One thing is for sure, with the death of Caesar came the demise of plentiful money in Rome. Taxes increased, as did corruption. Just as in the case of America today, usury and debased coin became the rule. Eventually, the Roman money supply was reduced by 90%. As a result, the common people lost their lands and their homes, just as is about to happen soon in America. With the demise of plentiful money, the masses lost confidence in the Roman government and refused to support it.
I was today years old when I found out.
1,000 years after the death of Christ, money changers, those who loan out and manipulate the quantity of money, were active in medieval England. In fact, they were so active that acting together, they could manipulate the entire English economy. These were not bankers per se. The money changers generally were the goldsmiths. They were the first bankers because they started keeping other people's gold for safekeeping in their vaults. The first paper money was merely a receipt for gold left at the goldsmith. Paper money caught on because it was more convenient than carrying around a lot of heavy gold and silver coins. Eventually, goldsmiths noticed that only a small fraction of the depositors ever came in and demanded their gold at any one time. Goldsmiths started cheating on the system. They discovered that they could print more money than they had gold, and usually no one would be the wiser.
Then they could loan out this extra money and collect interest on it. This was the birth of fractional reserve banking. That is, loaning out many times more money than you have assets on deposit. So, if $1,000 in gold were deposited with them, they could loan out about $10,000 in paper money and draw interest payments on it, and no one would ever discover the deception.
By this means, goldsmiths gradually accumulated more and more wealth and used this wealth to accumulate more and more gold. Today, this practice of loaning out more money than there are reserves is known as fractional reserve banking. Every bank in the United States is allowed to loan out at least 10 times more money than they actually have. That's why they get rich on charging, let's say, 8% interest. It's not really 8% per year, which is their income. It's 80%. That's why bank buildings are always the largest in town. But does that mean that all interest or all banking should be illegal? Hardly. In the Middle Ages, canon law, the law of the Catholic Church, forbade charging interest on loans. This concept followed the teachings of Aristotle and St. Thomas Aquinas. They taught that the purpose of money was to serve the members of society, to facilitate the exchange of goods needed to lead a virtuous life. Interest, in their belief, hindered this purpose by putting an unnecessary burden on the use of money. In other words, interest was contrary to reason and justice. Reflecting church law in the Middle Ages, Europe forbade charging interest on loans and made it a crime called usury. As commerce grew, and therefore opportunities for investment arose in the late Middle Ages, it came to be recognized that to loan money had a cost for the lender, both in risk and in lost opportunity. So some charges were allowed, but not interest per se.
I was today years old when I found out.
King Henry I of England finally resolved to take the money power away from the goldsmiths about 1100 AD. Henry could have used anything as money, seashells, feathers, or even yak dung, as is often done in remote Tibetan provinces. But he invented one of the most unusual money systems in history. It was called the tally stick system.
Here I have one of the few surviving examples of this form of British money, which lasted 726 years until 1826, a tally stick. The tally system was adopted to avoid the monetary manipulation of the goldsmiths.
Tally sticks were money fabricated out of sticks of polished wood. Notches were cut along one edge of the stick to indicate the denominations.
Then the stick was split lengthwise through the notches so that both pieces still had a record of the notches.
The king kept one half to protect against counterfeiting. Then he would spend the other half into the economy and they would circulate as money. This particular tally stick is huge. It represented 25,000 pounds. One of the original stockholders in the Bank of England purchased his original shares with this stick. In other words, he bought shares in the world's richest and most powerful corporation with a stick of wood. It's ironic that after its formation in 1694, the Bank of England attacked the tally stick system because it was money outside the power of the money changers, just as King Henry had wanted it to be. Why do people accept sticks of wood for money? That's a great question. Throughout history, people traded anything they thought had value and used as money. You see, the secret is that money is only what people agree on to use as money. What's our paper money today? It's really just paper. But here's the trick. King Henry ordered that tally sticks had to be used to pay the king's taxes. This built-in demand for tally sticks immediately made them circulate and be accepted as money. And they worked well. In fact, no other form of money has worked so well for so long as tally sticks. Keep in mind, the British Empire was built under the tally stick system. The tally stick system succeeded despite the fact that the money changers constantly attacked it by offering the metal coin system as competition. In other words, metal coins never went completely out of circulation, but tally sticks hung on because they were good for the payment of taxes.
I was today years old when I found out.
This is Frankfurt, Germany. 50 years after the Bank of England opened its doors, a goldsmith named Amschel Moses Bauer opened a coin shop, a counting house, in 1743. And over the door, he placed a sign depicting a Roman eagle on a red shield. The shop became known as the Red Shield Firm, or in German, Rothschild. When his son, Amschel Meyer Bauer, inherited the business, he decided to change his name to Rothschild. Amschel soon learned that loaning money to governments and kings was more profitable than loaning to private individuals. Not only were the loans bigger, but they were secured by the nation's taxes. Mayer Rothschild had 5 sons. He trained them all in the skills of money creation, then sent them out to the major capitals of Europe to open branch offices of the family banking business. His first son, Amschel Meyer, stayed in Frankfurt to mind the hometown bank. His second son, Solomon, was sent to Vienna. His third son, Nathan, was clearly the most clever. He was sent to London at age 21 in 1798, 100 years after the founding of the Bank of England. His fourth son, Karl, went to Naples, and his fifth son, Jacob, went to Paris. In 1785, Mayer Amschel moved his entire family to this larger house, a 5-story dwelling he shared with the Schiff family. This house was known as the Green Shield. The Rothschilds and the Schiffs would play a central role in the rest of European financial history and in that of the United States.
I was today years old when I found out.
The Rothschilds broke into dealings with European royalty here at Williamshof, the palace of the wealthiest man in Germany. In fact, the wealthiest monarch in all Europe, Prince William of Hesse-Kassel. At first, the Rothschilds were only helping William speculate in precious coins. But when Napoleon chased Prince William into exile, he sent 550,000 pounds, a gigantic sum at that time, to Nathan Rothschild in London with instructions for him to buy consols, British government bonds, also called government stock. But Rothschild used the money for his own purposes. With Napoleon on the loose, the opportunities of wartime investments were nearly limitless. William returned here sometime prior to the Battle of Waterloo in 1815. He summoned Rothschild and demanded his money back. The Rothschilds returned William's money with the interest the British consuls would have paid him had the investment actually been made. But the Rothschilds kept all the past profits they had made using William's money. Nathan Rothschild later bragged that in the 17 years he'd been in England, he'd increased his original 20,000 pound stake given to him by his father by 2,500 times. By cooperating within the family, the Rothschilds soon grew unbelievably wealthy. By the mid-1800s, they dominated all European banking and were certainly the wealthiest family in the world. They financed Cecil Rhodes, making it possible for him to establish a monopoly over the diamond and gold fields of South Africa. In America, they financed the Harrimans and railroads, the Vanderbilts and railroads and the press, and Carnegie in the steel industry, among many others.
In fact, during World War I, J.P. Morgan was thought to be the richest man in America. But after his death, it was discovered that he was actually only a lieutenant of the Rothschilds.
Once Morgan's will was made public, it was discovered that he owned only 19% of J.P. Morgan companies. By 1850, James Rothschild, the heir of the French branch of the family, was said to be worth 600 million French francs, 150 million more than all the other bankers in France put together.
He built this mansion called Ferrier, just east of Paris.
Wilhelm I, on seeing it, exclaimed, "Kings couldn't afford this. It could only belong to a Rothschild." Another 19th century French commentator put it this way: "There is but one power in Europe, and that is Rothschild." There is no evidence that their predominant standing in European or world finance has changed.
I was today years old when I found out.
Just how rich and powerful is Lord Evelyn Rothschild? Historically, the Rothschild family wealth was hidden in underground vaults. The Rothschilds' secret financial records were never audited and never accounted for. Their family commissioned biographies give the illusion that their family fortune has dwindled, but researchers estimate their wealth at close to $500 trillion, more than half the wealth of the entire world. Besides their many castles, palace mansions, wineries, racehorses, and exotic resorts, the Rothschilds bought Reuters in the 1800s. Reuters then bought the Associated Press, which selects and delivers the same news stories to the entire world, day after day. They have controlling interest in 3 major television networks and easily avoid media attention since they own it. Until recently, they owned and operated England's Royal Mint and continue to be the gold agent for the Bank of England, which they also direct. They control the LBMA, London Bullion Market Association, where 30 to 42 million ounces of gold worth over $11 billion are traded daily. The Rothschilds earn millions weekly just on transaction fees alone. They also fix the world price of gold on a daily basis and profit from its ups and downs. Over the centuries, the Rothschilds have amassed trillions of dollars worth of gold bullion in their subterranean vaults and have cornered the world's gold supply. They own controlling interest in the world's largest oil company, Royal Dutch Shell. They operate phony charities and offshore banking services where the wealth of the Black Nobility and the Vatican is hidden in secret accounts at Rothschild Swiss banks, trusts, and holding companies. Although Evelyn Rothschild looks like a harmless gray-haired old man, make no mistake about it, Rothschild and his ancestors have handpicked presidents, crashed stock markets, bankrupted nations, orchestrated wars, and sponsored the mass murder and impoverishment of millions. The wealth hoarded by this one family alone could feed, clothe, and shelter every human being on earth.
Bye.